Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. Jim Talent, formerly senator from Missouri, is now chairman of the Reagan Institute National Leadership Council. He's a defense expert. Jim, welcome. I listened to you and Dwayne talk on Dwayne's World. I want to narrow this down to what does Jim Talent think is the best case result of this conflict between Israel and Iran and possibly the United States, and what's the worst case result?
Best case result, you, is a new and favorable equilibrium in the Middle East. And I really think it's possible. Iranian power has been broken. Israel has emerged as the hegemon of the region. They're dominating their strategic environment. And we have a real possibility of a loosely aligned but stable equilibrium around, including Egypt, Jordan, Israel, the Gulf states, and potentially Syria and Iraq. I think that was the highest purpose of Trump's trip to the Middle East. That's the reason for his outreach to Syria. And I think that's what he's aiming at. And that's what he's balancing in this decision about the B-2s and using the MOPs. Because on the one hand, if he sends in the B-2s, he makes absolutely certain the destruction of the Iranian nuclear program. But on the other hand, we become a co-belligerent, and it might make it more difficult to manage the post-conflict environment. So that's what he's debating now, and I think he's going to wait to see if Israel can get Fordo on their own. That's the best case scenario. At this point, the worst case scenario is a beaten and isolated Iran, which is no longer, for the near term anyway, a significant direct kinetic threat to the region, although they'll still have sleep cells they'll try and activate. And I still think in that context, Trump will try and create the kind of equilibrium I just discussed. And then, of course, we're all hoping that there isn't a hit on some major Israeli civilian center that takes hundreds of lives. That's still possible.
Earlier today, Eli Lake released a new edition of his podcast, Breaking History, a special edition with David Albright, Mr. Nuclear Denuclearization. And David said Iran potentially has the ability to build a non-conventional delivery mechanism for a very crude nuclear weapon and get it close to Israel. Do you think that's in the realm of the possible?
Well, if he says it's in the realm of the possible, I believe it's in the realm of the possible. And all of these decisions, all these scenarios, even if it were an easier place to manage than the Middle East, there's always risk with every decision that you make. The question is, which risks ought we to accept in view of the potential rewards? So I trust the president to weigh these equities. I mean, my gut reaction is the same as yours. Go into Fort Al, blow it up. Of course, that wouldn't stop the kind of scenario that you're talking about. But I do think Trump has larger vision in view, and if he decides to pursue that and to trust the Israelis to do the war fighting on their own, I'm not going to criticize him for it.
Jim Talent, I have seen very little about the standing Iranian army and Navy and Air Force, separate from the IRGC and the Quds Force, which exist to protect the regime and are corrupt and are evil. There's an Iranian army and there's an Iranian Navy and an Iranian Air Force, although I think most of the Air Force is blown up. Do you think there's a general's plot possibility here against Khamenei?
Yeah, I would be surprised if there aren't some very quiet discussions to that effect. Now, they're still in the middle of a chaotic situation, but let's suppose that Israel finishes the job, or we go in and finish the job, and the regime does not fall right away. Now they're looking at, the leaders of the forces they were using for internal security have been decapitated. Khomeini is 86 years old. When he goes, there could well be a succession conflict or crisis that produces a more favorable leadership. So I wouldn't put that off the table, even if it doesn't happen in the immediate term. I think that's going to be a possibility going forward because the regime has been delegitimized. The public never supported them. And internal factions like that is what will overthrow them.
Karim Sajapur put the potential at zero for Khamenei ever allowing for the dismantling of Fordo. assuming that Khamenei remains in power, I don't think we can avoid a kinetic involvement in this. And I'm not hopeful that they're going to negotiate in good faith. They don't know how to negotiate in good faith, Jim Talent. The president kind of said that at one point. You lose the ability to negotiate if you never do it.
And this is exactly why I don't think that Trump is delaying action, thinking he's going to get a negotiated agreement. He knows he's not. I don't think he's worried about, the restrainers in his movement. He knows he's making this decision and he runs the movement. I think he is thinking about what happens afterwards. And I'm glad he's thinking about it. And I bet he's talking to Netanyahu about it too, how the two of them are going to manage a new security arrangement in the Middle East that creates prosperity and security for them and for us for a long time. And I think Trump will probably be willing to take some risks in order to achieve that. But if it's reported back to him that Fordow is still operational, there's still a substantial chance that Iran will be able to get nukes, then I think he'll move. And the other thing about it is there's no need for him to attack in the next 48 hours. He's going to let Israel play out, in my opinion, the next week to 10 days and see what happens. I mean,
that's smart. That's smart.
Yeah,
it's such an important decision. But
it'd be a milk run for our B2s. I mean, they're not going to be at any risk at all. They can go a week from now, just as they can go tomorrow. That's what I think the president is weighing. That's why he's getting his closest advisors in the Situation Room. I think it's probably why they haven't briefed the Gang of Eight yet, because he wants to weigh these equities and make a decision.
And I'm sure the Israelis are giving him every bit of intelligence they get. Jim Talent, thank you for joining me. Follow Jim on X at Jim Talent. Everything he posts there is useful. Everything that you need to know, Jim will usually point you towards on X at Jim Talent. Don't forget, we're posting a lot of these interviews over at my YouTube channel. I would appreciate it if you liked and subscribed to it. I also have a very long podcast run from today's show over at Highly Concentrated Hugh, wherever podcasts are available. And I'll be right back. A couple more phone calls. 1-800-520-1234. I'll get to you, Lawton in Alabama, and whoever else lines up behind you at 1-800-520-1234. Stay tuned.